Hello, my name is Asha Sampat and welcome to this new edition, but the last one of 2020 of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. River blindness, soon a bad memory in Cameroon thanks to the African scientific contribution.
We're on the right track. I think Cameroon can achieve its goals and that by 2025 we expect to have eradicated onchocerciasis.
The end of water chores. It's happening in West Africa with the support of the European Investment Bank.
It really was hard work getting water. Most women had to wait until 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, there's just a few drops of water.
How to find funds to finance a project or to develop a business. Answer in the fifth part of our business law series.
All the more so when dealing with startups rather than established companies.
Onchocerciasis, also known as river blindness, is being taken care of in Cameroon. Mectizan, the treatment for the disease, eventually paid off. But to get there, it took the contribution of researchers at the local level, the commitment of the public authorities, and above all, an extraordinary discovery. The secrets of this successful fight in Cameroon against a disease that has long been a brake on development, in this report by Aboubakar Siddiq Munchili, our correspondent. Registered in Cameroon as a national public health problem, onchocerciasis, also called river blindness, is in the process of disappearing in the country. Onchocerciasis is an eye infection, a parasitic disease caused by a worm and transmitted by the bite of a black fly.
There are few areas where it's been diagnosed, just in the central and coastal regions where epidemiological tests have shown rates to be higher than average.
Slightly high prevalence, which remains, just like there's still onchocerciasis today in Cameroon, the memory of a painful past, of a disease that has wreaked havoc and decimated populations.
The endemic cluster of onchocerciasis was widespread in places such as Bafia, Bayomène, Kiki, Engoboba, and Esure. There were young girls whose skin had been ravaged by the disease, and young men who had been disfigured with what's known as leopard skin on their limbs. In Mbam, some victims had been blinded, and 2 or 3 children suffering from epilepsy as a result of being infected. In most cases, it seems that the families of the children were unaware that the disease was still posing a risk today. I had these lumps sticking out of my body. At the hospital, the head doctor said it was obviously a case of onchocerciasis. And they operated on me. I can show you the scars.
After the experiences of many years of aerial dropping of insecticides along streams and rivers in endemic areas to kill the causative agents of the pathology, the fight on the field has been revolutionized with the arrival of community-based treatment with ivermectin. This new approach, less expensive than the first, implemented through many initiated projects, has been set since several years in Cameroon within the framework of the African Programme to fight against onchocerciasis, thanks to the determination of the public authorities and a pool of well-engaged actors.
We're lucky in Cameroon that we are helped by NGDOs. There are 4 in the country now: HKI, Perspectives, IEF, and Sightsavers. They all work with us, and there's MDP in the United States that has provided us drugs worth 20 billion francs for free.
Ivermectin, known as Mectizan, taken as a single oral dose given free of charge, is effective. But in some areas of the country, the effect of the drug on some patients has turned out to be rather dramatic.
We've seen patients with very severe headaches, muscle pain, severe joint pains that could keep the patient bedridden for a week or more. The victim is immobilized and in some cases lapsed into a coma after being treated, although we weren't sure why this occurred.
This is what prompted this Cameroonian researcher and his team from the African Center for Research on Filariasis and other tropical diseases to carry out a great deal of research work. The results showed that treatment for river blindness had no chance of success for these patients due to the presence of loa or African eyeworms. This distinct filariasis, when it affects a patient with river blindness, makes ivermectin or Mectizan impossible to administer, not without the pain and serious side effects. It could even put carriers of both filariasis in danger of death.
We later discovered these undesired side effects were caused by loa filaria, so we had to see how to avoid these side effects. We tried other drugs to see if they could treat the loiasis and prevent the side effects after treatment with Mectizan. But none really worked on the loiasis. Then scientists thought testing for loiasis to identify people with high rates of the disease to stop them being treated with Mectizan. This would allow treating the rest of the population safely, without the side effects.
The loascope, a miniaturized microscope coupled with a telephone, has been developed and allows in 3 minutes to determine the parasitic load of loa. With this device, several hundred thousands of people have been tested and then treated in many health districts in Cameroon. This new strategy is presented not only as an effective solution, but very precious in reassuring the populations and dissuading all those who have developed fear about taking Mectizan.
We're on the right track. I think Cameroon can achieve its goals and that by 2025 we expect to have eradicated onchocerciasis. We must continue to educate people and make them aware of the situation through local communities, local mayors and leaders.
Loiasis, present in Cameroon in onchocerciasis endemic areas, is also present in some countries of the Central African sub-region and even in West Africa, according to the African Center for Research on Filariasis and other tropical diseases. Professor Joseph Camino intends, with the help of many partners involved in the fight against onchocerciasis on the African continent, to share this experience, which has worked in Cameroon with other countries. In 2019, WHO estimated the prevalence of onchocerca volvulus infections worldwide at 20 million cases, with more than 99% of infected people living in 31 African countries. Côte d'Ivoire will launch its vaccination campaign against COVID-19 in April, targeting 20% of its population. The African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention hope that 60% of Africans will be vaccinated within the next 2 to 3 years. While the continent has so far recorded 2.2 million infections, the main obstacle to the arrival of vaccines is logistics, including keeping vaccines at refrigerated temperatures. Well, bad news for the continent's oil producers. According to the International Energy Agency, fuel consumption will not increase significantly until the second half of next year, and this despite still strong demand in Asia. Oil demand is projected to be reduced by about 1.2 million barrels per day for this quarter, and the discovery of a vaccine against COVID will not have an immediate stimulating effect. Access to water and sanitation, these are still some of the priorities for many Africans. Even though there's still much to do, many partners have supported and funded a set of game-changing projects. The European Investment Bank is one of those organizations that work in West Africa to encourage infrastructure development. Take a look.
In the Diop household, water flows with a turn of the tap, much to the relief of Mrs. Diop and the entire family. The endless trips to fetch water are a thing of the past.
It really was hard work getting water. Most women had to wait until 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, there's just a few drops of water.
Further east, in Senegal's hinterland, the situation was once no better than in Thiès. Now, thanks to PEPAM, the Drinking Water and Sewerage Program for the Millennium, local inhabitants have improved access to drinking water.
We had to get water delivered. A barrel would cost around $1, $1.50. Some households needed 3 to 4 barrels a day. That's at least $3.50 to pay for the water that you need each day. But now, thank God, it is easier.
1,000 miles away in Ouagadougou, the capital of landlocked Burkina Faso in Western Africa, it was the same problem. For years, the outlying neighborhoods were not connected to the drinking water network. For Sana Kabore, owner of a small brickwork supplying local building sites, the first problem he had to solve each day was, where do I get water? A problem that is now solved thanks to ONIA, the National Water and Sanitation Board. ONIA has provided water to 32,000 poorer households in the outskirts. Good news for the Kassalia service promoter.
We didn't have the water we needed to work. We had to get it delivered from all over the place by taxi motorbikes at $1.30 the barrel. Now, ONEA has set up standpipes, and we have the water we need to work properly. I use at least 10 barrels of water a day. At home, I have a water tap, and my wife no longer has to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning to fetch water.
One of the objectives of the Millennium Development Goals was to halve the percentage of the world's population that had no access to drinking water. With the MDG deadline in sight, considerable progress has been made.
Le Sénégal a atteint largement d'ailleurs les objectifs du
Senegal is well on target for the Millennium Development Goals, with access to 100% of households in Dakar and 91% in the hinterland.
11% dans les régions de l'intérieur.
Thanks to a low-interest loan from the European Investment Bank, it was possible to provide inhabitants with an extra 40,000 cubic meters of water. A larger water tower was built with sufficient storage capacity to supply areas that had water shortages.
Nous avons pu réaliser 721 kilomètres.
We installed a record 721 kilometers of piping for the drinking water supply network.
Ce qui a permis également
We were then able to provide 48,000 subsidized connections, benefiting more than 500,000 people.
Plus de 500,000 personnes.
In Ouagadougou, the battle for drinking water is concentrated on Ziga, a project designed to provide the capital's inhabitants with the precious resource. The 3 million-strong metropolis is constantly growing, outrunning the country's ability to supply drinking water access. ONIA received 18 million euros from the EIB to finance its various investments.
The partnership has been very productive and has enabled us to improve and increase access to drinking water and to maintain the service with water treatment plant, water towers and distribution network. It's an exemplary partnership, and we would like to see it stepped up.
But despite the steady flow of investments, the battle for water is not yet won. With droughts come shortages. A vast water treatment plant is being built to provide improved drinking water access. In Ouagadougou, as in Dakar, many challenges lie ahead.
We have been investing in the region for the past 50 years, and we will continue to be a part of the European drive to meet the Sustainable Development Goals after 2015.
In total, the EIB has disbursed 18 billion euros to finance over 1,300 projects, with access to drinking water a main priority. Great steps have been taken, but the community of backers will need to pursue their efforts for several more years if the MDG goal of providing drinking water for all is to be attained. With the necessary innovative measures, the private sector could lend its weight.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. As the year draws to a close, the question of how to feed millions of Africans is pressing. The Nigeria Farmers Association warned that stocks have declined to 30,000 tons. This is only a portion of what the country's people need for food. Recent Islamist attacks on rice farmers in Borneo State, along with banditry activities, are keeping farmers away from their fields. The situation is similar in Burkina Faso. The World Food Programme warns that 7 million people are at risk of famine in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. While the holiday season comes closer, chocolate is in the spotlight in many countries, a festive moment, but also a very big commercial issue for African cocoa producers. Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana were upset about the decision made by US buyer Hershey's to source from the US futures market to avoid paying the decent income differential. The dispute that drove up prices is now resolved, with Hershey's pledge to pay the premium at $400 a ton. Africans who stood out in 2020 are distinguished in the annual ranking of 100 personalities published by New African. It recognizes many scientists and epidemiologists who fought against the spread of COVID-19 on the continent. Senegalese Amadou Sall of the Institut Pasteur in Dakar and Monsef Slaoui, the Moroccan researcher, feature prominently. But creativity and artists have not been forgotten. English-speaking countries still dominate the list. Cameroon, with 6 personalities, is the most represented French-speaking country. Credit is essential for businesses. It allows you to go to market and develop your business. But how to convince your bank or an investor looking for a return on investment? What are the risks faced by insolvent payers? My Bank and Me is the theme of our Business Law is Your Business series. Take a look.
It's never easy getting hold of funds when starting out in business. Simplice Dagri has been submitting applications for loans ever since he decided to market his Dagris mill. He has done all the market surveys and drawn up a business plan. His patent grinder has even been a hit at invention and innovation fairs, but he has still had no luck finding a partner prepared to put up the funds to start full-scale production.
Ça fait plus de 10 ans que cette broyeuse est là. Mais le manque de moyens.
I've had my grinder ready for 10 years, but just haven't had the money to market it, and it's getting nowhere.
Dernièrement, j'ai pris la révolte.
I hate to see a machine like that go to waste. But when I went to the bank, they asked me to provide all kinds of guarantees that I just didn't have.
Almost all fledgling businesses face the same dilemma. Without experience, capital or guarantees, bankers are not prepared to take the risk. Their logic is simple. Why take a risk that might mean losing money?
Un entrepreneur qui veut se lancer,
experience shows us that 80 to 90% of businesses hit the wall. That's why we tend to be very demanding.
Nous aurons beaucoup plus d'exigences avec
all the more so when dealing with startups rather than established companies.
Une entreprise qui existe déjà.
Les banques n'apprécient pas les projets par rapport à la capacité de réalisation.
Banks don't really weigh up the risk of a project by looking at the entrepreneur's personal capacities. It has more to do with the guarantees. That's just the way it is. These are collateral-backed loans. The actual value of the project in question and the entrepreneur's abilities take a back seat, when in fact these are the real guarantees of a project's success.
Qui garantit le succès d'un projet.
It's hard getting a new business venture up and running, but as the saying goes, where there's a will, there is always a way. A well-thought-out project could sway even the most hesitant banker and garner support from financial institutions, as long as certain conditions are met.
La garantie, c'est un accessoire.
The guarantee is incidental when compiling an application.
Le dossier.
The application must prove above all that the operation is bankable. We must be able to guarantee the loan will be paid back.
À savoir une opération dans laquelle on est susceptible d'assurer le remboursement.
A guarantee gives us added security, but a guarantee is not in itself the sesame to obtaining a
On
loan.
va forcément obtenir un crédit.
Once the application has been judged bankable, the venture is on the launch pad. But the operator cannot stop there. It would be very unwise to sign without examining the small print, just because you are relieved to have obtained a loan. In life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. This is especially true of loans. Many applicants forget, or simply don't know, that interest rates are negotiable, although banks will always try to impose the highest rates possible if they can.
The official interest rate, with the various VAT taxes included, will be around 15 to 18%. I negotiated 15 to 16%. That's still very high because the margins for SMEs don't get any higher than 20%. If you're paying out interest at 15 to 16%, your profit margin is completely eaten up.
With this hurdle cleared, the entrepreneur is not yet home free. Once the bank has transferred the loan to his account, he or she must waste no time getting the business airborne, making profits and paying overheads, such as the loan installments. Defaulting on payments is never a good idea.
The rules are quite clear. If you don't pay your installments on time, you'll have extra bank charges and penalties to pay as well. These may be twice the amount initially owed.
If the business can no longer repay its loan, any possessions, property, land, or any other guarantees can be seized by the bank. In the past, the bank could not seize property and goods without a court order. Now, with a commissary pact introduced in the most recent OHADA reforms, the process is automatic.
Nous avons observé que, avant l'institutionnalisation,
we realized that before applying the commissary pact, the procedure for granting a loan was fraught with risk. Nothing came of it. You could spend 10 years trying to sell the object in question. How can the banker be expected to provide funding under these conditions? It's just not possible.
Il est prévu que dans le cadre de la prise de garantie, dans un délai de 30 jours,
under the terms of the clause, 30 days after formal written notice has been given, the collateral provided changes hands.
De la garantie peut être faite immédiatement. Il y a tout de même une condition à tout cela, c'est que
but this only works if the legal system is effective and independent, and if the magistrates are competent.
Il faut que l'indépendance de la justice soit assurée.
But difficulties may arise for reasons beyond the entrepreneur's control. In the event of force majeure, the banks can be very understanding, as long as they are consulted.
Il y a une première nature de clients qui n'arrivent pas à honorer parce que
some clients cannot pay off their loan due to a change in their situation.
Je pense par exemple les particuliers.
I'm thinking of individuals whose ability to pay depends on having a given revenue.
En fonction de certains revenus, il y a également les entreprises.
Then there are cases where the context can change. Falling oil prices can create problems when, for example, the state cannot pay its debts, and consequently, businesses cannot pay off their loans. We try to find a solution because it's in everybody's interest to do so.
Dealing with banks can be a minefield for very small and medium-sized businesses. But there are alternatives to the traditional high street bank for fledgling businesses. Microloans, investment funds and crowdfunding, to name but a few, can provide solutions for budding entrepreneurs who are not covered by the traditional banking system.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 540, so listen carefully to the 2 questions that follow, and good luck. First question. What is onchocerciasis? Fever, an eye infection, a drug? Second question. What decision should the bank wait for to pledge the assets in the event of default on a business loan in the OHADA space? The police decision, The judge's decision, none. You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website africaonair.com, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering. With the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 540. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 536. Here are the details. First question. In Zambia, by how much has the annual cassava production increased? Answer, 4.7 million tons. Second question. What is the figure for the freight rate in Africa? Answer, 12%. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel with Initiative Africa. We'll talk to Ramtan Lamamra, the High Representative of the African Union. He will tell us about the African Union's flagship initiative, Silencing the Guns. In the meantime, you can catch this program on our website, africaonair.com, and all our social media channels. And feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag BusinessAfricaTV show. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the holiday seasons. See you next week. Bye-bye.